It had been exactly 10 months since Julia Hampton's life collapsed beneath the weight of the unknown. In her small, dimly lit living room in Charlottesville, Virginia, she sat curled in an armchair worn thin by grief. The coffee table was buried beneath missing persons flyers bearing the identical, joyful faces of her 8-year-old twin daughters, Clara and Ava. The corners of many were curled from constant handling, others faded by the sun, filtering through slanted blinds that she hadn't opened fully in months. Stacks of police reports, interview transcripts, and case summaries teetered on her desk, a tower of futility that she had read so many times she could recite entire pages from memory. A dozen unopened sympathy cards sat untouched on a side table, each envelope a quiet whisper urging her to let go, to grieve. But Julia couldn't. She refused. Opening them felt like surrender. Her hand hovered above one of the envelopes when her phone buzzed violently on the table. She stared at the caller ID. It was Detective Malik Hollis. She answered quickly. "Detective." There was a pause before his voice came through. "Julia, we've just received a report from Ocracoke Island, North Carolina. A fisherman found a suitcase with what appears to be human remains. We believe it could be one of your daughters." The world tilted. Her vision blurred. Her fingers tightened around the phone as she struggled to breathe. "We need you to come identify some of the items inside. I'll pick you up in an hour." By the time Hollis arrived, Julia was waiting by the door with a small overnight bag in hand. The drive to the airport and the flight were quiet. She stared out the window, numb, her mind drifting back to that day on the cruise ship. The trip she had worked overtime for, saved every penny, dreaming of giving her daughters memories they'd cherish forever. It had been a warm afternoon. She had taken him to lunch at a quiet restaurant on Deck 6. At 3:34 p.m., she stepped outside to take a work call. Just 5 minutes. When she returned, the girls were gone. Cruise security initiated a full alert. Staff searched the vessel every pool, cabin, kids club, and maintenance corridor. Security footage showed the girls near the main pool, laughing at a magician's performance. Then they disappeared from view. No footage showed them boarding or leaving the ship. The U.S. Coast Guard and FBI became involved. Dock authorities were alerted. Every passenger was interviewed. And yet nothing. No sign of Clara. No sign of Ava. Now, 10 months later, they landed in North Carolina, met by local officers who drove them to the sheriff's substation near Ocracoke. The building was plain a one-story structure surrounded by pine trees and sand. Inside, a cold, sterile hallway led them to an evidence room. A weathered fisherman with sun-beaten skin stood quietly near a table. "Mrs. Hampton," the sheriff said, "this is Curtis Leach, the man who found the suitcase." "I'm sorry, ma'am," Leach said gently. "I wish I hadn't found it. I really do." On the table sat a medium-sized suitcase, faded blue and warped from exposure to the sea. When a medical examiner opened it, the smell was immediate and unmistakable. Inside were the decomposed remains of a child. Wrapped tightly in several layers of clothing, the small body was bloated, discolored, partially skeletonized. "The victim died of asphyxiation," the examiner explained quietly. "No evidence of physical trauma or blood loss." But Julia wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on a red Minnie Mouse t-shirt and a pair of blue swim goggles labeled with the initial A. "That's Ava's shirt," she whispered, barely able to speak. "Those are her goggles. I marked them. Clara's had a C. Ava's were always A. We'll run a DNA test to confirm," Hollis said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Then the examiner presented another bag. This was found inside the suitcase with the body. Inside was a silver Zippo lighter, heavily tarnished by salt water, but still intact. Etched into the side were the initials K. "That's not my daughters," Julia said. "They were 8. They wouldn't have carried a lighter." "We believe it might belong to the person who did this," Hollis said. Curtis Leach recounted how he had found the suitcase while walking the shoreline. He knew immediately something was wrong and called it in. "Was there anything else?" Julia asked, desperate. "Any sign of Clara?" Leach shook his head solemnly. "Just the one suitcase." Back at her cabin that evening, Julia sat on the porch, overlooking the water, trying to make sense of it all. Officer Deanna Flores was assigned to stay with her for safety. The waves lapped at the shore with rhythmic indifference. From the corner of her eye, Julia noticed a man locking his cabin across from hers. He had left behind a cigarette pack and lighter on the table. Something about the lighter caught her attention. She picked it up. On the bottom was a sticker worn, faded but familiar. The same logo as the one on the evidence lighter found with Ava. She raced to catch the man before he left. "Excuse me, sir, you forgot this." "Oh, thanks," the man said, taking it. "I would have been annoyed if I lost that. Do you mind me asking, where did you buy it?" "Little newsstand in Greenville. Carnes Corner News." "That name sounds familiar," Julia said slowly. "Oh, they sell all kinds of old junk. I even bought this crappy suitcase there. Handle broke the first day." Julia's heart stopped. "Would you mind if I kept the suitcase?" He laughed. "Be my guest." She asked his name. "Jeff Thorne." As soon as he walked away, Julia called Hollis. He returned at once. Together, they examined the suitcase. It was identical, same color, same size, same broken handle. "This can't be a coincidence," Hollis said. Within an hour, they were back on the mainland at Carnes Corner News. A clerk confirmed that Mr. Carnes sometimes sold second-hand items from his own collection. "Is he here now?" Hollis asked. "No, sir. He comes and goes." "Do you sell these lighters?" "Yes, and sometimes customers engrave them." Outside, Hollis received the address of Douglas Carnes' residence. They drove past slowly. A pale yellow house, a sedan in the driveway. The license plate began with DK and ended with KE. Julia's breath caught. Then, back at the harbor, they saw the same car waiting in line for the ferry. In the back seat, what looked like a child. Blonde hair. Thin. Restless. "It's her," Julia gasped. "It's Clara." "Wait," Hollis warned. But she was already moving. Within seconds, the car's occupants noticed the attention. The driver man in his 50s and a woman jumped out, dragging the child. "Clara!" Julia screamed. Chaos erupted. Officers swarmed the area. The suspects tried to flee, weaving between cars. The ferry was locked down. The woman clutched the child's arm until a sharp command from officers made her release her grip. "Mom!" The girl shrieked, running straight into Julia's arms. They fell into each other sobbing. "It's over," Julia whispered. "I've got you now." Later, at the hospital, Clara was examined. Malnourished, bruised, restrained, over-medicated, and worst of all, "She's physically stable," Dr. Patel said, "but emotionally she's traumatized. She'll need intensive care." Back at the police station, Hollis reported that Evans, the woman, had confessed. Carnes was the ringleader of a child exploitation ring. The crew's abduction was premeditated. He'd spotted the twins months before, tracked them, boarded under a fake name, dressed as crew, and lured them away with a magic trick. He couldn't handle two, so he chose. Ava was smothered and thrown overboard. Evans helped cover it up, but Clara had survived, moved from place to place, hidden, renamed, threatened, and finally rescued. More children were found at a hidden property on Cedar Island. 10 in total, all alive. At Clara's bedside, Julia held her daughter's hand. "Millie's gone, isn't she?" Clara whispered. "Yes," Julia said softly. "But you're safe now." Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks. "I thought she might be somewhere else. I hoped you'd find us both." "I tried," Julia said. Every day, for a long time, they sat together in silence. There would be therapy, trials, grief, justice, but most of all there would be healing. And as morning light filtered through the window, Julia whispered, "We're going to be okay." And for the first time in 10 months, she almost believed it.